My name is Christopher and I'm the CEO of Providend. At Providend, we believe in first making life decisions before making wealth decisions. But what are life decisions? These are questions whereby you ask yourself, what is my life purpose? Or what would I want my purpose to be? Or questions such as, what are my values towards money? Why is money important for me? And it is only after answering these questions then you make your financial decisions to support these life decisions. In this show, the Provident Conversation, Living the Good Life, we are going to interview several people whom they're going to share about their lives. And I hope that you will be inspired by their stories. Hi Loo, thank you for joining us for this show, and thank you for agreeing to do this interview.
Thanks, Chris, for inviting.
Now, I have to say that this interview is quite different from the rest of the interviews that probably you have gone through, because a lot of your past interviews, they are really about your financial strategy, how you make your wealth, your 1M65. But for this interview, it's really about knowing you as a person, because I want to really understand, the decisions that you make in your life. But just to start off,
Sure.
You are better known as 1M65 rather than Loo Cheng Chuan. In fact, when I go around asking people whether they know Loo Cheng Chuan, a lot of people say that they have never heard of you.
Sure.
But the minute I say, no, but have you heard of 1M65? And then they say, yeah, I've heard of 1M65, and then the name Loo becomes pretty familiar. I mean, how do you feel? How do you feel about this, that people know the movement more than you?
Well, first of all, I actually get a lot more people coming up to me in the streets and saying that, Mr. CPF or Mr. 1M65. So you're absolutely right. Actually, very few people know me by Mr. Loo, except maybe a circle of friends and things like that. And actually, this actually gives me a lot more comfort. The 1M65 is actually structured as what I call a movement. I've never registered any organization. There is no company or non-profit organization properly registered. It's a movement. By the movement, what we want to do is to actually ignite a fire to spread the strategy of 1M65 or equivalent or higher than that, to spread the strategy not by myself alone but by people around. And the fact that people recognize the movement more than the person actually gives me comfort. This is I'm not trying to sell a product, or I'm not trying to sell myself because there's no point doing it because I don't get profits or money out of it.
Right. Yeah, you obviously didn't do it for money.
Yeah. So actually it gives me comfort that people recognize the movement stronger than the person that started it.
Yeah, so since you talk about 1M65 being a movement, can you tell us a bit about this movement? What made you start this movement? And like I say, you obviously didn't do it for money. All the talks that you have been giving, you don't charge a single cent for it. So actually, what made you start this movement?
Yeah, well, this movement started when in about 2015, and I was invited by CPF board to give a talk.
How did they find you?
So actually I've developed this strategy to make money out of CPF, okay? Meaning that, you just make sure you maximize a special account and MediSave account and just let it compound, right? But I think they found me because I'm probably one of the rare few people with high CPF accounts and things like that. And I probably have mentioned a bit in social media, not serious, just mentioned a bit. And they discovered me and they interviewed me, and I gave a interview quite reluctantly because generally maybe it's old-fashioned thinking. When we make money, you want to keep your money making secret.
You want to tell
yourself.
people know that you have a lot of money.
Exactly. But this one is a bit unusual. This is not like trade secrets, This one telling people doesn't take money away from me. Okay. So I guess why not we do it, right? So they invited me to give a talk, and I remember I was in Suntec City, And the talk was given to a lot of 55-year-old retirees.
Yeah, I remember those
And
talks.
every now and then they will do such talks for retirees. I think you and I have spoken in a few of these talks before. In that talk, I still remember vividly. They asked me to give a talk. I said, okay, why don't I give a talk about it and teach people that you should top up your CPF, SA and MA as early as possible, and then just let it compound, and you husband and wife each make $500,000, and that's it. Such a simple idea, right? But after the talk, I was swamped by maybe 20 or 30 uncle and aunties, basically asking me a lot of things, but basically resounding one big complaint. Why did you tell me so late?
Yeah, I can understand.
Why did you tell me so late?
Yeah.
Half my foot in the coffin already.
55 years old already.
Yeah,
they should
half
do
my
all
foot in
this
the grave.
before.
Why don't you tell me when I'm 20s or something like that? Wow, it was like that was a very painful half an hour where about 20, 30 uncles, aunties surrounded me and asked me. At that point in time, I was in pain, because they are passing all their pain to me, and I was like, want to tell CPF, but why didn't you tell them earlier, right? So after this group of uncle aunties walk away, then I asked the CPF guys, vomiting the same pain to them, why didn't you do it earlier? I think there was a bit of conversation. Essentially, at that point in time, CPF board has maybe a branding issue. People view it quite negatively.
That's 2015, right?
That's 2015.
Yeah, 2014 was the year whereby it was very bad.
Yeah. So remember in Hong Lim, there are people going
That's right.
out and say, please return my CPF, return my money, the kind of movement. And suddenly, we are here trying to tell people the reverse. And that was quite a refreshing idea to some people, but to a lot of people, it wasn't so refreshing. So in short, why I started a movement is because I felt that there's a lot of people in pain, okay? And I could have resolved some of this pain by telling people some of this CPF Kung Fu earlier. So I told CPF, let's do another talk for younger people, right? So we did 1 talk, 2 talk, 5 talks, 10 talks. If you consider today is a talk, this will be my 114th talk.
Wow.
So I've done it many times, and this is the 7th year in my
7 years.
7 years in my movement, we're very proud of the things that the movement achieved, and just to focus, the center of this movement is not me at all, actually.
Yeah, but I must say, how the tide has changed. I was just reading your 1M65 telegram just a few days ago, and there are like thousands of conversations, people asking how to top up, not their special account, we're talking about people asking to top up their MediSave account, right? I mean, 6-7 years ago, people were all talking about redeeming or taking money out. Now they're talking about topping up, right? And I mean, obviously you have done a great job promoting the movement, and as a result of that, I mean, like it or not, you have become famous, right? And not just you, your family as well, because I know you're quite open about putting your family out there, especially your daughter Kate. She has joined you to do a bit of a YouTube video,
Yes.
and all that. So now the whole family, not just you, have been thrown into the limelight, right? How has that changed for you and maybe your family?
Well, not very much, because if there's a so-called fame, it's not fame of wealth. It's fame in terms of public awareness of the movement. Like what you say, the awareness is more towards the movement. And people recognize us as the CPF guy. If people recognize me as something more branded, maybe there's a atas. There's a level of atasness that comes with it. Being associated with CPF, that kind of publicity is a very unusual publicity, and I don't see it have changed my life at all.
Yeah.
But
you have been, sorry to interrupt you, but you have been quite public about talking about your wealth as well.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody knows that you are a multi-millionaire.
Sure.
Right? I mean, how does your wife handle that? Because I know a lot of women, they don't like it.
Yeah. But the way my wealth was being communicated, I didn't expose it as a flaunting. It's not a haolian. It's more an education that if you build those things that I encourage you to, you too can reach that.
Okay.
So I think that's the communication, and people appreciate that. And so in that sense, there are so many more people much richer than I am by many times. But where we take a different approach is that this is what was achieved by this strategy. You too can achieve this. And we're not here to make a single cent out of you. What we want is the overall life of fellow Singaporeans, or even people around the world who, if this strategy is applicable to them,
It works for them.
to also improve their life, and as a result they could achieve certain other things in their life. So so in that sense, go back to your earlier question on how has that changed our life. Not very much, okay, but we live more fulfilled life right now.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sounds
more fulfilled life. So the increased publicity actually has not changed our life at all, actually. Yeah.
So your family is perfectly okay, like you're at a hawker center and then somebody walk up to you at the table and then say, hey, you are that guy, you're the CPF guy.
Yeah.
I know a lot of the wives, they're not comfortable, but your wife is actually quite supportive.
Well, there are two aspects to it. Number one is that my wife probably is more famous than I am, given her business. Okay, so I don't think there's any concern. People recognize her probably more than I do in public. But I think for the kids, we have communicated that number one, you are probably more publicly recognized, so you gotta handle the publicity with some level of care. Don't do stupid things. Don't get yourself into trouble and things like that. The things you say, can be recorded down. But that probably applies to many people as well, whether famous or not famous. But I gotta remind myself that because that I'm on the edge of often on the edge of breaking one rule, which I can say is that I like to fish. And I like to fish in where there is fishes. And sometimes where there are fishes are not very legal place to fish. So I've been arrested once already by police in a place somewhere in Lim Chu Kang for fishing. So I've been constantly remind myself that I don't want my name to appear Mr. 1965 or Mr. CPF being arrested for illegal fishing and that kind of thing. So since then I'm very conscious, trying not to do silly things
illegal
like that.
things.
Yes.
So in a way, it's a good thing. The fame in a way somehow help you to make sure that you do the right thing because you're always watched, right?
Yeah.
But you have your detractors. There are people obviously, Singaporeans, sometimes you're like that, right? Not everyone is supportive. So there could be people who say, hey, you must be working for the Cheng Hu lah. The government must be paying you some money lah to speak for them, right? What do they say? What do you say to them? How do you feel about all these detractors who seemingly try to put a bad light on you?
Sure. When I started this movement, that was in 2015, that was probably the worst time to be famous, okay, in this movement.
That's true.
Yeah, because when I started this thing, I was given a lot of names. Zhou Gou, government Zhou Gou.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I learned this phrase called running dog.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, Zhou Gou. And then government lackey, government spokesman, you're paid by government to do all this kind of thing, you PAP guy, whatever.
Running for election maybe even.
Running for election, want to be a politician, blah, blah, blah. So that was the first period, every time my name come out when associated with this, the Facebook comments will be 90% negative and things like that. And there were, you use the word detractors, and there are people who say that you're just trying to use this to gain fame. So my most famous phrase is, you can hate the government, you can hate the CPF,
but don't hate the money.
Right? Why you want to hate the money, right? So in that sense, we certainly started off in a very altruistic but painful way. Okay. Now, of course, this year 2022, I think the perception has swung totally, right? We now have probably 70-80% Pro. The number of top-ups right now have broken records after records after records in the CPF. I think the latest number was 4 billion top-up. And this movement have a huge part to play with it. Not the only person play with it.
Right.
And certainly we have gone a long way to reach where it is today. Yeah.
I think CPF board and Singaporeans have a lot of you to thank for making it so successful. I'm going to switch gear a bit and talk a little bit about your career.
Oh, sure.
Because when people see you at a talk, and then you like to speak in Hokkien, all that, right? People don't actually know you have a pretty illustrious career before you quit you leave the corporate world, right? So you actually spent 20 years with Singtel. I'm going to read it from here because it's quite a bit of things to read. You actually spent 20 years with Singtel, various capacities, CEO, Singtel Digital Media. I think people don't believe this guy's CEO. He doesn't look like one. Right? Singtel Digital Media, head of Singtel Group Digital Life as part of your portfolio. So, you could have continued. Whether with Singtel or with another MNC, what actually made you leave the corporate world? And I know you went, of course, to join your wife to do the business, but what actually made you quit?
In year 2011, I was very fortunate to have the opportunity to go to Stanford University to do an MBA. That actually was a turning point in my life. So when you go over there, you meet people of all walks of life from all over the world and things like that. But there's one common theme, right? That you should always pursue your passion. Okay, you meet different people. They'll say, "Oh, I'm pursuing my passion in doing this. I'm pursuing my passion in doing that." They want to change the world, all sorts of things. And here I am, in Singapore, just rat racing, just climbing corporate ladders, making sure that we have got one house after another house, one condo after another, cars getting bigger and bigger, that kind of thing. But there I really do a search, soul searching, and found that, hey, actually, I have a passion that's innate in me. I really love to be an entrepreneur. You're an entrepreneur, so you probably will understand this. But there's a lot of fear in me to be an entrepreneur, right? So that was then I decided that, okay, me and my wife, we really want to be an entrepreneur. Let's also jump in to support her. Meanwhile, I've been actively involved in the startup scene as an investor, and also in the space of financial investment. I've done reasonably well. So I think the safety is there. Right. So I've decided that that is something I'll do, and we both love it. For sake of passion, we don't wait until when we are 50s or 60s and say that what a life wasted because we didn't pursue our passion. Already at 40 plus, it was considered late.
Right. You talk about your wife starting a business. This is going to be a sensitive question. Because you and your wife, you're in the business of actually promoting luxury bags.
Yep.
You guys sell the very expensive bag online. I know you travel Europe, and then you bring all these bags to Singapore and you sell them online. Expensive bags, thousands of dollars, right? But yet you are out there preaching about being thrifty, the value of thrift, right? And I always remember, when I hear you talk, you always say, do you want to be rich or do you want to look rich?
Yeah.
Right? So, how do you reconcile with that? Anybody actually challenge you and say, hey, Loo, you're a hypocrite. You on one hand, you say, hey, don't try to look rich, be rich. But on the other hand, you are selling all these expensive handbags that seemingly promote that idea of looking rich. Actually, how do you reconcile with that?
I'll be frank with you. We never did. So what we did was that we draw a very clear line of demarcation. This is mine and this is yours, right? Premium Mall, the business is yours, B. Her company is hers, 100% hers. The 1M65 movement is totally mine, right? I will help you out, okay? To do whatever necessary to help with the business. But very clear demarcation that I'm on this side and this side. You're on the dark side, on the white side. So
she spent the money, but you save the money.
Well, yeah, but I think over the years we came to realize one thing is that those stuff that we sell have become necessities of life for ladies. Maybe men cannot understand this, but for ladies, they will easily understand that it's very difficult, whether it's a social pressure or business pressure or personal pleasure, okay, that you need to have some of these things. You need to have some of these things, and if you're not seen with some of these things, it's very difficult to present yourself in public life and things like that. So why not we try to get you this at a much cheaper price than what you will have to buy in the local space. So in that sense, we bring a lot of money savings to them. This is not a advertisement for our company, but that was how we reconcile it. But nevertheless, we draw a line very clearly. Recently, there's a very interesting development that we actually have no longer just blurred the line, but we're merged both together. The story was this, that my wife was in Europe recently, and she was doing a live streaming with two of the staff. Two of staff are foreigners, so she's doing a live streaming or talking, and she fell sick in front of the cameras. Very sick, and she actually collapsed
in front of the camera.
In front of the camera,
halfway through the thing.
That was there but the show needs to go on, right? And the two staff are foreigners, and they find it very difficult without a local voice in it. That was where I had no choice
but to come in.
But I come in. For 7 years, I did not appear anywhere in front of Premium Mall. No, I'm always back behind the scene, just helping be the business. So for the first time, I stood up in front of camera and tell people that, excuse me, I introduce who I am. My wife just collapsed.
My goodness! And you didn't stop the show.
I didn't stop the show. My wife just collapsed. Just continue to support these two show hosts. They are foreigners, but they can still do the job. Maybe not as good as my wife, but please continue the show. Meanwhile, let me watch after, take care of B and things like that. And very funny, people recognize me, right? I would expect the whole Premium Mall community, generally ladies who are more interested in handbags than finance, very few will recognize me. That's my assumption. That was a big wrong assumption. A lot of people recognize me and say, that's Mr. Loo from 1865 movement.
You are the guy behind this Premium
Mr.
Mall.
CPF, Mr. 1865, wow, the all things start coming out, right? More and more people in the show of handbags start asking me finance questions.
Seriously?
It's a very unusual thing.
So, wait, the sales drop or not?
No, not at all. Yeah, they were very interested in the 1865 movement, the financing. And I said, okay, if you want, I'll let the girls finish the show first, then I'll talk about finance. So we started off maybe about 90-10, the time spent. It has gradually grown to almost at some point of time while we're in Europe, it was maybe about 50-50, right? There were huge engagement on the finance part and much less engagement on the handbag part, which is very weird. Now that I'm back in Singapore, it's 100% finance. So the entire engagement now on live stream on the Premium Mall channel, we've got 200,000 fans right now, is all on financial literacy, 1865 movement.
But you separate, so you do a show on finance for your customers.
Sure.
And at the same time, of course, the live streaming to sell the bag still.
The second time she collapsed.
My goodness.
The second time she collapsed, and then there was a handbag in my hand because she passed it to me and she collapsed. I said, just lie down and in pain and things like that. I said, hey guys, I don't know how to sell this bag. It smells nice. It feels nice, the pillow. I really can't sell this, sorry guys. That kind of thing. Everybody had a good laugh. But really, jokes aside, the financial literacy interest and movement have taken off in a huge, big way in Premium Mall. The lines have not just been removed, the both sides have now totally come together. My fans are telling me right now in Premium Mall that Mr. Loo, don't worry. I keep telling them I have this conflict. One hand, I'm telling you all, please, manage your money well. One hand, we're trying to sell you bags. You see, the fans actually said, don't worry about all this. We know how to handle ourselves, right? We are mature people and things like that. Teach us how to make more money so that we can buy more bags. That was quite funny. Yeah, that was quite funny.
I mean, those guys who are watching this, the wives will be looking at the husband, nodding their head and say, see, when I'm buying bags, right,
Yeah.
I'm not actually wasting money, I'm actually saving money.
The funny
because
thing is that the wives pull their husband into the talk. And here I am teaching everybody about 1865, all this kind of thing, right? And now I've got a lot of WhatsApp messages, Facebook messages, and even LinkedIn messages from the husbands, right? Asking about, hey, how do you do this? How do you do that? Yeah. So it's a very long story to your question, but things have certainly have a very interesting turn.
Okay, thanks for sharing. I know this is not your only business.
Yeah.
I mean, that business really belongs to your wife. You're just
Sure.
helping her,
Sure.
right? But you have a lot of interest in other businesses, and I think you have started some.
Yep.
What actually motivates you? I mean, it goes beyond money, right? Those businesses that you are involved.
Money has become just a scorecard. Yeah. And maybe a means for us to do other things, right? So, but really it has just nothing more than a scorecard. My lifestyle has not changed. You know me, I still drive the same car. I still live in HDB.
Still Honda?
Yeah, I still drive the same Honda, and I still eat the same food or things like that. So, lifestyle doesn't change much for me, but I enjoy this entire lifestyle that I've now able to pursue.
I think that's very inspiring. I mean, for those of us watching this, I mean, I hope, I don't know, I mean, we have heard Mr. Loo talk a lot about financial strategy, his 1M65 strategy, but perhaps this is the first time you know him as a person. I mean, this guy, he's been successful in the corporate world, can study. You go Stanford means can study, right? Run a pretty successful business, especially with your wife, and now involved in various businesses. Yeah, so I want to start first by talking about your growing up years. I know that you don't grow up in a very rich family. Your father was a school teacher. Your mother was just a homemaker. Your father was just a primary school teacher, right? So you don't have a lot of money when you were growing up. So maybe share a little bit about how it was like in your growing up years, especially when it has got to do with money.
I'm actually very fortunate. I never experienced poverty. My father has taken care of the family really well. We never starve. We have got a great education, and all our needs are all well taken care of. We don't have luxuries of life, but we have enough, and that's a very important part that make me who I am today. And in the sense that my father has 3 strong virtues that were infused in me, both consciously and subconsciously. Number 1 is he's very hardworking. Number 2 is he's very thrifty. Number 3 is that he cares a lot for the family. Okay, and those virtues have got into me, my brother, and my sister as well. So 3 of us were great in these 3 areas. I think those years of upbringing actually has taught me a lot about the value of money. Okay, and certainly I've seen all walks of life because I didn't live in the
bungalows,
the high end of life. I don't really aspire to stay in one of them. I've always enjoyed what I have. So up to today, I still stay in HDB. I find it very good. Okay, I've also came to realize that it is important not to get into the curse of the Haagen-Dazs ice cream, and I'll explain what is that. It simply means that you don't have a lifestyle escalation. Okay, so once you have tasted Haagen-Dazs ice cream, Magnolia ice cream and King's ice cream and Wall's ice cream doesn't taste very nice. But if you have not tasted Haagen-Dazs ice cream, all these ice cream will taste wonderful, right? So I think in lifestyle, I don't need to try out all those things. This simple lifestyle to me tastes as good as wonderful as well.
I know also through your talks that you have shared that in 1998, that must be during the time of the Asian financial crisis, you lost a big sum of money, at least for someone at that time, 24. It was about 100,000 that almost made you bankrupt, and that you had to go to your father to borrow money. Maybe tell us a little bit about the experience then.
I think it's an experience I share a lot, and also hope that the experience will go out to make people wiser. You don't need to go through my experience to be wise, right? You just need to hear about it. that was a real painful, humbling process.
And your stock prices went down.
And crashed as well. So I've got, in order for me to service all these payments and things like that, I've got no money.
So what really made you sort of like, quote unquote, bankrupt wasn't the stock market actually. It was really, you had to pay for the new house.
Exactly.
And you were losing money in the old house.
Correct.
And you couldn't sell your investments because it was not worth
all
much
below
anyway.
water. Yeah.
So
I sold at a huge loss, and already a lot of those purchases and investment was already borrowed money from my dad. Yeah. So cumulatively, maybe the right way to say, I didn't lose my own money. I lost the money that I borrowed from my dad. So it got so bad, and I still got to go out to him and please help me because I got this thing to purchase that just came and things like that. Yeah, it was painful. It was painful. Yeah.
What did your father say? I mean, was he upset with you?
I think he wasn't happy. Okay, no one would, but I felt that his silence, he didn't say much, but that the silence is even more deafening.
That was enough.
Yeah, it was even deafening. And from that day onwards, I saw that I will be good with money.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, Loo. I'm just going to switch gear a bit because we've been talking a bit about, quote unquote, the not so good things. Right? Although, of course, on hindsight, there are no bad things. All these things, although they were bad, somehow they became good for you. They became a platform for you actually to become a better person, right? But surely there would be moments that you are very proud of, your proudest moments in life. Maybe you'd like to share with us some of these proud moments and whether there have also been moments whereby you were really encouraged, people who encouraged you. Share some of these positive events.
I have a very proud moment. I wouldn't use a moment, but in 2020, I've been obese almost my whole adult life.
Not obese, but big.
Obese, really obese, right? 90 kilogram or so. And I fell to about 74 kilo, right? It's a huge achievement, right? And with that comes a lot of huge pluses in life, better health, greater joy, more energy, blah, blah, blah. But that was really a huge achievement in my life. I'm very proud of this achievement. And I saw in my life that I would never let myself go back to obesity again. Right?
But what made you do that, I mean, it's like you woke up, suddenly realized that you're obese.
I've always wanted to slim down, but I haven't found the right formula, right? And the other pride of life are not the achievement of my own, but achievement of my children. And I get very proud of their achievements. I get very proud of their achievements that brings me far joy than my own achievement. So that was incredible pride, So my joy is not on the proudest moment of my life was not the pride of my own, but seeing my kids able to stand on their own feet, have their own achievements. I take huge joy and pride in it. Huge joy and pride in it.
So I guess when you look back in your life right now, you must be very grateful that things have turned out well in almost every area of your life. Especially as you've just shared, family, children, business, have been good. Financially, you are doing very well as compared to when you were 24. I mean, what else is there for you to do, right? I mean, like 1M65, you have taken it this far. It's exploding. Are you satisfied with what you have achieved so far?
I think if you look at this as a goal achievement, then there's a question of whether now you achieved it, will you be happy? But I don't see it that way. Yeah, I see it as a lifestyle where I enjoy. The concept of so-called achievement in businesses doesn't really strike me as an achievement, but more like it is a lifestyle I am living right now. I enjoy it, right? And really, so the businesses that I run, I actually enjoy running them. The investment that I take and help them mold them to where they are and where they'll go. I'm a business mentor to many startups and many businesses. I enjoy the process of helping them do well. And my kids, clearly, I get great joy in bringing them up, and I suppose I'll do that until the day, when the Lord calls me back and things like that. So for me, those are not so much a goal, but it is a lifestyle and a process that I am currently involved in it. And probably, certain passions do change in life depending on how your health turned out to be and certain lifestyle change. But I'll continue enjoying doing all those things. And if that's an achievement, then achievement is the achievement of being able to enjoy the life that you chose it to be.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing so many parts of your life. I just want to ask you one last question.
Sure.
In this book, which I really love, I enjoyed reading it, which is called Repacking Your Bags, both the authors, Richard Leder and David Shapiro, they define the good life as living in the place you belong, with the people you love, doing the right work on purpose. What do you think of this definition? And based on that definition, do you think you are living a good life?
I think there are two parts to it. I've always been a passion chaser. And to a large part of my life, I must say that I'm living quite a lot of it. There's never perfection, right? And it's not so much binary. It's not, are you living that life or are you not? Right? It's a continuum, right? Maybe between 100, if I can live 70, 80% of it, it's not bad, right? Not every part of your life you're going to get every single one of people you're going to be happy with, right? But not every part of your life you're able to live that kind of joy that you want it to, because life will spin out different ways whatsoever. I think that if you're able to live majority part of your life there and live some imperfection to let there be room for growth and challenge and a bit of a stretch in your life, I think it's okay. I think it's okay. In the area of money, I just want to say, for a lot of people, it is a goal. I tend to think of money as a enabler, right? As an enabler for you to do certain things, right? Or a magnifier. And if I do look back one day at a time lying in the bed many years from now, okay, I want to be able to close my eyes and say, this was a life worth living for, and I've lived it.
Thank you so much. I think I definitely agree with what you said, that money is not a goal. Money is an enabler, or like how you put it, is a magnifier. And like you, I definitely agree that we should chase after what we really want to do, passion, and not just money. So I just want to thank you for taking so much of your time to share this with all of us. Thanks for coming down to join us in this what we call the Providend conversation, living the good life.
Thank you.
Thanks, Loo.
It's a great pleasure, and thank you for this great honor and this opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So to all of you out there, thank you so much for watching. I hope the conversation with Loo has somehow inspired you to first make a life decision before making financial decisions. And I hope that Loo's life has also encouraged you to live a good life. And like what Loo said, it's a continuum, right? Living a good life is a continuum. And I hope that encourages you beyond just making a good living, because you can make a good living and you can earn a lot of money, but not necessarily you will live a good life. So we'll see you in the next episode. Thank you.